When I look at the history of my family, I know there were people praying. I always believed that God saw everything that I did. I had that just like when I woke up to life. Go to high school, get in, whatever that means, get into whatever college. Then you make straight A's, best you can, get into a good job. And I find myself married with kids. We have these boys, and I'm trying to get a job that will align with career time and all that. So I'm like, well, I gotta go to school. I love math, I can do math. Might as well be a teacher or something. I started having these dreams. I'm on a planet, I think it's a planet, it's totally dark, but there's this blue flame way far away. It's very still, but it's very hot, and I know it's God's presence. About 3 to 4 times a week for 2 years, I'm having the same dream walking to the blue flame. And when I finally get there, he tells me, sing over my people when I'm singing over you. And it's inside of me, something woken up, and I heard music, and all the music, it was like, I call it the song of creation. I just heard music everywhere, and then it was coming into me and through me. We fast forward, playing piano, and all my boys got into music and guitar and all those things. So, and then my boys are getting involved in sex, drugs, rock and roll, and at the same time being a part of youth groups. So their life was like, I call like a up and down wave. And Carson was certainly that. It was almost like his Christian friends couldn't handle it's like he's for God, but now he's going against them. So he would get let go from all these communities and be on his own. So I tore my knee, and I ended up meeting some doctors. And one of the doctors, the anesthesiologist, he said, you don't know me, but you taught my son in private school, and he was on drugs and into football, but he came to Christ because of the stuff you talked about in class. And he ends up giving me $10,000 to make this one song called American 9/11 when the Twin Towers got hit. I thought of the Statue of Liberty just holding the golden lamp, and Emma Lazarus' poem, give me you're tired, you're poor, you're held masses, and I wrote the words to 9/11. And it felt like my life. I'm walking brokenly, but I still have a life I can give and love with. But that song got on the radio on October 14th, and somebody heard it. And it started changing a lot of things in my life, and I got to teach at an alternative school and tell my story to all these kids that were broken. But I was excited to be able to take about 8 people, and Carson, about an hour before we take off on this 20-hour ride, he gets in the car, and he's wearing all of his leather jacket, rock and roll stuff. He brought, apparently I didn't know this, but he brought 4 grams of marijuana and some kind of pipe, I don't know what you call it. But he was planning on going. It's like there was something in him, he wanted to be with his dad, kind of wanting to know God, but he's also not feeling that it's all real maybe. But he walks into a conference, and I don't see all this. It's a 4-day conference. He's gone for 2 days. 4th day, I see him, and all of his clothes are changed. No leather jacket, none of his jewelry. His hair was different. What happened, Carson? It's like, I can feel grace. I can feel peace in you. Not this agitated Carson that he normally is, and bouncing off the walls and talking a million miles an hour. He's like still and full of peace and grace. I said, what happened? He wrote his testimony. It's an amazing thing to hear your son in his own words talk about the Holy Spirit as being better than all these chemicals he was taking. So it's all in Carson's language, just this beautiful way of talking. He would always be saying with people that I love my life. I love Jesus, and I love my life. And he'd scream out, I love my life. So to see him at peace with joy saying, I love my life, is just an amazing thing for a father to see. And I get this call in the morning at 7:30, and he's just telling me, hey, Dad, I got this phone call, and my songs are being wanted by these 2 companies. They want to pay me 6 figures. What should I do? And then he tells me stories of going out with his friends, and they're praying for people in bands and seeing them healed. And you have like story after story after story. We're on the phone for an hour and a half, and I'm like, man, my son is really transformed. I get a call that night. There was nobody there. And then I get a call about a half hour later, and it's his girlfriend, Becca, saying, we've been in an accident. We were hit by a drunk driver. Well, you need to get here right away. And I knew something was serious. And while I'm talking to her, at about 11 at night, the same day that he called me that morning, I see this sea of glass in my image in my mind, like this completely still water, kind of like this water here. And I see Carson coming out of the water, except his clothes are completely dry. And I see him looking at somebody down the forest, kind of off the beach. There's a forest of trees, and he's hearing. I see Carson getting excited because he's hearing music, and he's asking the person further away. He says, "Where is the music coming from?" So I fly down there, and I'm struggling because my son's 21. And when he was born, I had all these promises for him of what he was going to do. And I'm like struggling with God saying, but he hasn't finished his race. And he said, no, he has. You don't know what's been going on. Just wait till you get there. So I get there, go to the hospital. And as I'm walking, I'm hearing my own music. I'm hearing Receive Grace from Heaven. And I'm like, how are they singing my song, my first song? After the dream sequence in 97, 95, I get my first song. They're singing my first song. I didn't even know Carson really had even listened to my CD. And I'm like, I remember he was on Facebook and said he's borrowing the chorus to my song to put into his song called Father of Lights. So they're singing Carson's music with my chorus. And I felt like there's something going on here. There's something bigger than me, where my first song and his last song, it was like our hearts came together. And I felt like he'd come full circle. He became the fullness of a man of love that God had promised me from the beginning. So. So there I am, having all this stuff broken aside of me, and I see one who's gone before me who's lost his son, and he tells me, the Lord of the universe, right, the one that I feared since I was a little boy, that I know sees everything, can do anything he wants. And he's saying, you can go and you can just go chill and heal. I get where you're at, and I know what you're going through. Just go chill. And I thought, how gentle of him to tell me that. And he said, or you can let me come into the broken parts of your life, your heart, things that are broken. I can love harder through you. You can love harder. We can love harder together. And as you let me come into your life and your hurt and love harder, I'll start putting you back together again. And Carson, his phrase of, I love my life, I love Jesus, I love my life, and seeing him run hard in love really motivates me. Well, we go to the memorial, and I start hearing more and more stories from his roommates and those who loved him. And as I'm hearing these stories, I'm realizing as a father that he ran his race. And that race is not just to have money, not to have a name for yourself, but did you learn to love? Did you learn to love well?